Well, now the Republican candidates move on to the northeastern state of New Hampshire, where the primary takes place next week. Polls show that the Iowa winner, Mitt Romney, is more than 20 points ahead of his nearest rival, Ron Paul. Rick Santorum, who had a late surge in Iowa, has less than 5% support there. After that, they head to the southern state of South Carolina, where the evangelical Christians and the Tea Party are expected to play a much bigger role than in New Hampshire. Newt Gingrich, who did badly in Iowa, has been leading the polls in South Carolina, with Romney in second place. Well, joining me now live from Charleston in South Carolina is Scott Robinson. He's the editor of PoliticalDerby.com, a website devoted to political analysis. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Robinson. I suppose one of the main things that Iowa shows is that voters aren't yet ready to anoint a front runner in this race. How much of this do you think that we can attribute to the factionalism within the Republican Party?
Well, in the case of Iowa, Rick Santorum clearly outperformed the other candidates. He went out and won this race by working harder than anyone else. It's amazing that Mitt Romney actually did as well as he did when he spent almost no time whatsoever in Iowa this time around. Mitt Romney won the race with very little effort. It actually is quite a big win.
But if
for
you
him.
only have eight votes between Romney and Santorum, do you think that's because, you know, partly viewers, the voters are being confused by this, they're being put off by what's going on within the Republican Party, that they perhaps don't have any idea of what the Republican Party stands for?
I don't think there's confusion. I think in the case of Mitt Romney, they see him as a very electable person. He is the only Republican candidate who consistently polls ahead of Barack Obama head-to-head. But in the case of Rick Santorum, there's also as you mentioned earlier, the Tea Party and evangelical Christian faction that is looking for their candidate, and they're trying to find the one person to rally behind.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about the born-again Christian evangelical vote. How important do you think it's going to be to this election?
Oh, it's extremely important. The evangelical Christian base is a significant piece of the Republican vote. Through the primary, they need a specific candidate to stick behind. In the case of Mitt Romney versus the others, as long as Rick Perry stays in, when he's clearly not in good shape after Iowa, with Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich also in, they're going to split that evangelical vote, especially once the primary here in South Carolina is held.
The battleground is now going to shift to New Hampshire. What's the Republican game plan there?
In New Hampshire, Mitt Romney has a clear lead. He's up over 20 points. No one is going to make up 20 points in a matter of 7 days. The best strategy for all of the other Republican candidates is to focus their energies in South Carolina. New Hampshire is clearly Mitt Romney's win.
All right, Mr. Robinson, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.